Hi, welcome to our mat yoga class for lower back discomfort. This is class number 2. This is going to help us to go a little bit further with moving those muscles in the lower back and hopefully releasing any tension or discomfort that we may be finding there. So as always, we start our practice standing tall in Tadasana, mountain pose. So 2 feet flat on the ground, about hips distance apart. So if you find your hip bones, which are right about in here, and just head south, that gives us that good sturdy foundation for our mountain pose. Let's start to unwind here through the shoulders, rolling them back and down. Starting to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, as long as those passageways are clear for us. And if they're not clear today, let's just breathe as comfortably as we can. And as we roll the shoulders back and down, we feel the chest opening. We feel ourselves undoing any of that unintentional slouching we may have participated in earlier today. And just open everything up. Now let's roll those shoulders back and down one last time, turning the palms of our hands to face forward as we stand tall in mountain, pressing down through each foot, engaging the abdominal muscles, lifting up tall through the crown of our head. And you're welcome to close your eyes here if you'd like to. Bringing our focus to the sound of our healthy breathing, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And as we hear the sound of our healthy breathing, we're reminded to breathe throughout each pose, especially if a pose is challenging for us. Let's keep breathing rather than holding the breath. And let's allow ourselves to put all other thoughts aside so we can be present in this moment, right here, right now. And with each inhale, we're breathing nourishing oxygen into the body and the mind. And with each exhale, we're letting go of stray thoughts, letting go of judgment and competition, even when it's directed toward ourselves. And we're letting go of our own expectations today, allowing ourselves to see what these healthy bodies can do when given the opportunity. Taking a few more cleansing and centering breaths. And when we're ready, let's slowly open our eyes. Now we're going to take just some long arm reaches here. Let's inhale one long arm up toward the sky, and on the exhale, switch sides. Inhaling and exhaling. And we notice that when we lift those arms up high, not only are we starting to stretch out and lubricate the shoulder joints, but we're also continuing to open up through the chest here. One more long arm reach on each side, following the pace of our own healthy breath. Now let's bring both hands together at heart center in Anjali Mudra. Remember, Anjali Mudra is a hand gesture that means gratitude and also at the same time respect when we use this mudra. So let's open up as we inhale, opening the chest a little more, and on the exhale, come right back to heart center. Inhaling and opening through the chest, exhaling, coming back to the heart. And this is a wonderful time in our practice to take those big, big breaths that feel so luxurious in our everyday. And as we open up through the chest, we feel those shoulder blades squeezing a little closer to each other. Lots of good shoulder work here, as well as chest expansion. One more time, opening up through the chest. Let's bring those hands back to the heart and lower those arms down and roll the shoulders back. On the next inhale, let's take one arm up overhead for a little side bend. And on the exhale, let's go right over to the other side. Inhaling and exhaling. Remember, this side bend movement is going to do wonders for hydrating the spine. One more time on each side, just that nice, gentle, flowing side bend. Let's come all the way back to the center and roll the shoulders back. Let's inhale the left arm up to shoulder height. Let's focus on the tips of our fingers as we gently twist through the trunk. Inhaling that arm back to the center, exhaling as we lower down. Now let's inhale the other arm up. Exhaling, gently, gently twisting. Inhaling back to the center and exhaling down. Now today we're inside for our yoga practice. The weather wasn't cooperating for us to be outside, so that's okay. That's when we bring those yoga mats into the house. We find a nice quiet space for our practice. And you'll notice we're not using any music here for this practice. So this is a great time to focus on the sound of our healthy breathing as we move from pose to pose. Exhaling as we twist. Inhaling back to the center. Exhaling down. One more time on each side, a lateral raise with a gentle twist. Now let's relax those arms back and down. Now here on our mat, let's take a wider stance so that we've got the legs wide apart, toes are pointing on the diagonal, and when we bend the knees should be headed right in the same direction as the toes. So let's start with moonflowers. Inhaling, arms up to a star. On the exhale, bring those elbows back in toward your ribs. Inhale, reaching. Exhaling, squatting down into moonflowers. Now, when we hear the sound of this in through the nose and out through the nose breathing, we might notice that it sounds like the waves of the ocean as they meet the shoreline or the wind. as it blows through a forest of trees. So let's focus on the breath. Whenever the mind begins to wander, come back to the breath. One more time, squatting down into moonflowers, inhaling arms up. Now let's put a little bend in the knees and hinge forward from the hips as you gather. Then inhale and rise up tall. So we exhale, bending at the knees to protect the back. Inhale and rise. Exhaling as we hinge. Inhale, rising up. So from the side, it's going to look like this. We exhale with a nice flat back. Inhale, rising tall. Now, you may be able to take your head all the way down to the ground here, but in this beginning part of our class, we don't really want to go that far down. And especially with this flowing movement, we wouldn't want to go all the way down with the head and then pop all the way back up. It just would be a balance concern for us. So let's just take that back to about parallel to the ground and then rise up. How about one more of these hinging sunflowers? I'm going to turn back around to face everybody. Let's come over here to sun pose. Arms out long, palms up to the sky. Inhaling arms up as we straighten the legs. Exhale back into that squat. Now in the first lesson for our mat yoga for lower back discomfort, we talked about how these squatting poses and these hip openers can be very helpful in releasing any tension or stretching out any muscles in the lower back. Because remember, the hips and the lower back and the abdominal muscles, they're all connected. So when we get them stretching out in different ways, that can make us feel more comfortable. Inhaling arms up, exhaling down. Now, let's inhale the arms up, lower those arms all the way back down, and let's step all the way up here to the top of our mats. Feet again are hips distance apart. Let's inhale both arms overhead. Put a little bend in the knees as you swan dive to a forward fold. On the inhale, let's lift the back up to a tabletop level for monkey, and let's just rest our hands on our legs. Exhale, down to forward fold. Little bend in the knees as we rise up tall. Swan diving down. Inhaling up to monkey. Exhaling to forward fold. Rising tall as we inhale. Swan diving down. Inhaling up to monkey. Exhaling down to forward fold. Rising tall as we inhale with strong abdominals. Swan diving down. Inhaling to monkey. Exhale, forward fold. Rising up tall. Now, last time, let's swan dive down. And let's step all the way back to downward dog. So I'm reaching my feet as close to the ground as I can manage. And if you can't reach your heels down all the way to the ground, that's okay. If you need to bend the knees because it makes things more comfortable for the back, that's okay too. So stretch those legs out long, hips up high, and let's start to pedal here through the heels. And with each heel press here, I feel this nice long stretch through the back of the legs, still keeping the abdominals engaged here. Couple more heel presses. Now let's reach both heels back and down. Let's gently lower the knees to the ground and press those hips back toward the heels. My arms are out long in front of me for child's pose, Balasana. Child's pose is another wonderful way to stretch out the back. Now let's get ready to shift forward to an all fours posture. So we're shifting forward. I want to stack my shoulders up right above the wrists. And if it's not comfortable to have flat hands here, you could certainly have a fist position if that feels better. So lots of options. If I had some hand weights readily available, I might grab onto the hand weights to keep that good alignment in the wrist. So whichever method you would like to use, let's come into that all fours pose, shoulders over wrist, hips over the knees, engaging our abdominals. Let's inhale, arching the back for cow pose. And on the exhale, curling up like a Halloween cat. Inhaling into cow. Exhale as you curl up like a cat. One more time, curling up into our cat pose. Now let's come back to a neutral position here. Now from here, I want to kickstand my right foot out on the diagonal. I'm going to pick up my left foot and point the toes out long and lift my left arm toward the sky for a kneeling side plank. So my right hand, right knee, and my left toes, let's imagine that they're all on one long balance beam together. And I'm reaching up through the left arm for side plank. Now, if you'd like, you could lift up that left leg for some more balance work. And you could even add a flowing movement if you like. Inhaling that leg up off the floor, exhale, lower down. And all the while, with every option, we're keeping our abdominal muscles engaged here, keeping everything strong and balanced. This is our kneeling side plank. Couple more breaths on this side. Now let's gently rotate back toward the mat. Find yourself again in all fours. This time, kickstand out the left toes on the diagonal. Point through the right toes. Imagine that balance beam under your left hand, left knee, and right toes, and open up into that kneeling side plank. So my chest is open toward the long right side of my mat, right arm reaching toward the sky. For a balance challenge, I might lift that right foot off the floor. And if I want to flow the pose, I would inhale that leg up and then exhale, lowering it down. We talked last week about how strong abdominals can work in good harmony with strong back muscles. So here's a good core strengthening movement here with our kneeling side plank. 2 more breaths. Now gently, gently come all the way back to all fours. Let's go ahead and reach those hips back again toward our heels for that Balasana, child's pose. Let's take a couple breaths here. Now I thought we'd work on our upper body practice again. So on the next inhale, let's come forward into a strong kneeling plank, locking in our abdominals. And then exhale, come all the way back into child's pose. Inhaling forward, Strong kneeling plank, shoulders over the wrists. Exhale, coming back into child's pose. Now this time we add a little more. Let's inhale forward. Keep the elbows close to the body as you lower yourself down to the ground. On the inhale, lift the chest away from the ground for cobra, like a snake in the grass. And then press the hands down, lift the body back into child's pose. Inhaling forward, kneeling plank. Exhale, lower with control. Inhale, lift for cobra. Exhale, coming all the way back. Inhaling forward. Exhale, lower with control. Inhale, lift to cobra. Exhale, coming all the way back. A couple more times. Let's inhale forward. Exhale, brush those elbows right along the side of the body there when you lower down. Inhale, lifting for cobra. Exhale, coming back. Last time through. Inhale forward. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift. And on the exhale, come all the way back down. Now here in child's pose, you're welcome to leave your arms out long in front of you, just relaxing. Or you might choose to walk your hands over on the right diagonal for that wonderful downward facing thunderbolt stretch. Now let's walk the hands back to the center and over to the left side. If we do something on one side of the body, we really ought to do it on the other side as well. The only exceptions, of course, would be if you're feeling discomfort on the other side, then of course we'll ease back. Now walking our hands back to the center, let's shift the body forward into an all fours position and step the right foot forward. So my right foot is now up by my hands. I can leave my hands at ground level with my left toes on the ground for a nice kneeling runner's lunge. Or I might walk my hands up to rest on top of that bent knee. That's a nice option. Or I might even take these arms out to maybe cactus arms here. This is our kneeling lunge. We're getting a lot of stretch here through the hips. Remember, all those muscle groups are connected to the lower back. So let's give them a little TLC here. Now when you're ready, lower the hands down toward the ground. Take that right foot back. Step the left foot forward. Decide which level of a kneeling lunge you like best. There are many options. So feel it out, listening to the body at all times. Hearing the sound of our peaceful, deep breath. One more breath here. Now gently, gently come on back down to the ground. Take that left foot back. Curl both pairs of toes or both sets of toes down to the mat. And let's press those heels back and down, coming back to that downward dog. Engaging the abdominal muscles. On the next inhale, let's come forward to either a high plank or a kneeling plank. And let's lower the body down to the ground through chaturanga. Inhale, lifting to cobra or upward dog. Then curl the toes. Press all the way back to downward dog. Now let's hop up, step up, or walk up to our hands. Rise tall as you inhale. And let's exhale into a chair pose, like you're sitting in a chair behind you. Inhaling, arms overhead. Swan diving down to a forward fold. Stepping back for downward dog. Inhaling forward to the plank of choice. Lowering down through chaturanga. Lifting to cobra or upward dog. Then lifting the whole body back. Downward dog. Moving up to our hands. Rising tall as we inhale. And exhaling to a strong chair. Strong abdominals too. Inhaling, arms overhead. Swan diving down. Stepping back for downward dog. Inhaling to the plank of choice. Lower with control. And lift to upward dog or cobra. Curling the body back. Downward dog. Moving up to our hands. Rising as we inhale. Exhaling to a strong chair. Inhaling, arms overhead. Swan diving down. Stepping back for downward dog. Inhale to the plank of choice. Lowering with control. Lifting to upward dog or cobra. Curling the body back. Downward dog. Moving up to our hands. Rising as we inhale and exhaling to chair. Now let's use 2 more sun salutations. Follow the breath. Last time through. Now when you're ready, let's lower those arms down, rolling the shoulders back. Now when you're ready, let's go ahead and just take our right arm, just reach behind the back. It's a nice way to stretch out the shoulders here. You might choose to hold on to your other arm with a bind. Some people like to hold on at the wrist as well. We just want to open up the chest with this one arm behind the back. Now when you're ready, relax that arm. Let's reach that right arm high toward the ceiling. Bend at the elbow, trying to connect with your shoulders or just reach closer to them. And then there's the option of using your left arm to gently guide that elbow a little closer to the midline of the body. Now, I want to point out here, we always want to keep our head lifted tall, the crown of the head toward the ceiling. So when you go to use that left hand to guide the elbow a little deeper into this stretch, remember your head is naturally going to be in the way. So that's where we want to stop. We don't want to move the head to get deeper in the stretch because then we're coming out of good alignment for the spine. Now when you're ready, let's relax the left arm and then the right. Let's bring that left arm across the lower back. Think about how the left shoulder is feeling. If it's feeling good and challenged, there's no reason to hold on to the other arm. If we're not really feeling much action and we want to, maybe hold on to the other arm. That might be a good fit for us. But always, always listen to the body at all times. You know what feels good for you. And we got to take care of these bodies that we've been given so that they'll continue to serve us well for years to come. Now when you're ready, relax that bind. Let's inhale the left arm up as high as you can reach and then bend at the elbow. Again, you might choose to recruit that right arm, guiding the left elbow a little closer to the midline of the body, but always standing tall. Now let's relax the right arm and then the left, rolling our shoulders back and down. All right, now let's bring both hands together at heart center. Let's use our standing spinal twist here. Let's inhale, engaging the abdominals, standing up nice and tall. Starting below the navel, we want to start to turn just the trunk toward one side of our mat. So remember, think about a barbershop pole and the stripes going from the bottom to the top. That's how we want our torso to twist, from the bottom to the top. Now gently, gently start to unwind the body all the way back to the center. Now let's go in the other direction here. Let's inhale, engage the abdominals, lifting up tall. Always elongate before rotating. And on the exhale, twisting, twisting, twisting toward the other side of the room. Now let's gently, gently come all the way back to the center. Now let's step on up toward the top of the mat here. We're going to inhale both arms overhead. Put a little bend in the knees as you swan dive down to your forward fold. On the inhale, let's lift up to monkey. On the exhale, down to forward fold. Inhaling, rising up with a little bend in the knees to protect the back. Swan diving down to forward fold. Inhaling, lifting to monkey. Exhaling, down to forward fold. Rising tall as we inhale. Swan diving down. Inhaling to monkey. Exhaling, down to forward fold. One more time through. Let's use that monkey flow. Now let's swan dive all the way down to a forward fold, holding it here a moment, stretching out those legs as much as is comfortable for you. And when you're ready, let's step all the way back for downward dog. Reaching those heels back and down as close to the ground as is comfortable, engaging our abdominals. Now here, let's lift up our right leg for three-legged dog. So again, we want to engage those abdominal muscles here. And when you're ready, step that right foot all the way up to the hands. And we're going to lower the left foot right where it is and gently, gently rise into Warrior One. Looking straight ahead into the distance with a soft gaze through the eyes. Both feet firmly planted on the ground. Warrior One. Now when you're ready, leave your right foot where it is. Gently pick up the left foot, stepping back into a balance beam formation. The right toes are still pointing forward. The right knee is still bent over that knee. The left foot, we just turned it a little bit now so that it's parallel to the back of our mat. Reaching out through both of those arms as if you could touch the walls on the opposite sides. If you want a little movement here, let's inhale the arms overhead, gently bending the front knee, exhaling down. This is Warrior Two. One more of these flowing Warrior Twos. Now let's come on back and hold Warrior Two for about 3 more breaths. Now from here, let's gently straighten the front leg, reach that right arm forward like you're looking off the edge of a mountain. And let's rest the right hand either gently on top of that right leg or just inside of it and open that left arm up toward the sky, keeping a nice open chest. Think about backing yourself up against a flat surface for triangle. On the next inhale, let's gently lift, lift, lift. Relax the arms, stepping all the way up to the top of the mat. Let's inhale both arms overhead, bending through the knees. We swan dive down. On the inhale, let's lift to monkey. On the exhale, down to forward fold. Rising tall as we inhale. Now let's add chair pose here. Inhaling, arms overhead, swan diving down to our forward fold. Inhaling up to monkey, exhaling down to forward fold, rising tall as we inhale, sitting back into chair. 2 more times through. One last chair pose. Now let's head right back down into a forward fold, stepping all the way back for our downward dog. Engaging the abdominals, reaching those heels toward the ground. Let's inhale, lifting the left leg toward the sky for a little balance work. Now when you're ready, step that left foot all the way up to the hands. Lower the right foot where it is. And rise up tall, coming back to that warrior one. Now when you're ready, let's leave the left foot where it is. Pick up the right foot, gently stepping back onto that balance beam or that surfboard, looking out over the left middle finger for warrior two. Maybe adding in that flowing option as we inhale, arms up, and then exhale back to warrior two. One more flowing warrior. Now let's come back to a traditional warrior two, taking 3 more breaths. Now let's gently straighten the front leg, reach that left arm forward like you're looking over the edge of a mountain, and then we come into our triangle. Reaching that right arm high, rotating the right shoulder back to open up through the chest. One more breath. Lifting, lifting. Relax those arms. Come all the way up to the top of the mat. Shake out those legs. Now let's take a wide stance here on the mat. Now we're going to do a wide leg straddle fold here. So when you're ready, let's inhale the arms up, and on the exhale, let's hinge forward from the hips. You can either keep the hands at the hips or walk them on down the legs as far down into that fold as is comfortable for you. Now let's take a moment to inhale, lifting up through the chest, lengthening through the spine, and then on the exhale, fold again a little more deeply. Another nice way to stretch out the muscles of the lower back, and you can certainly feel this behind the legs as well. Just a few more breaths here. Now when we're ready, let's put a little micro bend in the knees first. Engage the abdominals, gently, gently rising up tall. Exhale as you bring those arms down, and let's just walk those feet back to about hips distance apart. Now, let's shift all of our balance over to the right foot, pointing through the left toes. Let's engage the abdominals. Draw that foot in. So your toes could be at ground level with your heel resting on your supporting leg, or you might take that foot up to the calf, or you might take it above the knee to that high inner thigh. And I'm going to start here with prayer pose. Remember, Anjali Mudra is what we call prayer pose in Sanskrit, and it's a gesture of gratitude and also respect. So when I use these hands here in tree pose, I think about what I'm grateful for my good balance here and when I'm walking around in my life. I'm grateful for the many blessings in my life and grateful to have this body and this breath that carries me everywhere I go. Now maybe I'm going to take those prayer hands and reach them up toward the sky. Imagining we're reaching up toward the sun with our leafy branches. One more breath. Now relax those arms, shake out those limbs. Let's do the same thing now on the other side. Shift your balance now over to the left foot, point through the right toes. Draw that foot in, plant those branches wherever they feel most comfortable. And remember, tree pose is offering us a hip opener here for this bent leg. So open up that hip as much as is comfortable for you. Decide which kind of hand options you want to use. I've got prayer again, but I could just as easily have hands on hips. Some people like more of a scarecrow arm, which can be helpful for balancing as well. Let's engage the abdominal muscles. That will help with our balance and the structure of this strong tree pose. Maybe we'll take those limbs back up toward the sky. Now when you're ready, relax those tree limbs, shake out those legs. So we're going to take two of our poses now and combine them together. We're going to use twisting chair. So I'm going to come up to the top of my mat here. Remember, when you're twisting, you always want to twist from below the belly button, and that twist will rise up. The twist will rise up through the trunk from the bottom to the top. So let's always remember that. Starting at the top of my mat here, let's inhale both arms overhead, and on the exhale, sit back into a strong chair pose and bring those hands in at heart center. Now on the inhale, let's engage the abdominals. On my exhale, I start to twist, twist, twist toward one side. I might be able to connect my elbow to the opposite knee or just past it. Another option is to take those arms out into a giant clamshell here, keeping the abdominals strong and twisting in a good way. Two more breaths. Now gently bring those hands back to the center. Inhale the arms overhead, palms touch. On the exhale, come back into that chair pose with prayer hands. Inhale to lengthen the spine first, then exhale, twisting, twisting in the opposite direction. Now when you're ready, gently, gently unwind. Inhale the arms overhead. Gently, let's swan dive down to a forward fold. Relaxing through the head and the neck and the spine. Straightening the legs as much as is comfortable for us. And maybe today we'll wrap both arms around the back of the legs and give ourselves a little hug. Now let's release our bind, so let go of the hands here. Step all the way back for downward dog, pressing those heels back and down. Now again, let's engage the abdominals. Inhale the right leg up off the floor for three-legged dog. Bend that right knee, and let's open our right hip out to the side. Now take this whole bent knee, bring it underneath the body, and rest that right knee just inside of your right wrist. Lower the left knee to the ground. Scooch those left toes back, 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 as far as is comfortable tonight. And let's choose if we want to stay lifted here or if we want to fold over that front leg. So if you're lifted, we're just going to stay right here. If you're folding, you can walk those arms down, folding forward. Now this pigeon pose can be a very deep hip opening movement. So it's a wonderful way to stretch out through the hips and the lower back. But again, always listen to the body at all times. And if you need a break, please take one. Now when you're ready, if you're folded forward, I want you to walk your hands back toward that front knee. Let's all curl our left toes down to the ground, lift the whole body back up, and let's come back into downward dog. So again, first we engage the abdominals, then we lift that left leg off the floor, bend the left knee, let's open the left hip to the side and take that left knee under the body, resting it just inside of your left wrist. Walk those right toes back as far as they're comfortable going. Then again, choose if you want to stay lifted here or folding forward over that front leg to get a little deeper into that hip opening stretch. Now when you're ready, let's walk our hands back toward that bent knee. And I want you just to roll your hip, the left hip, over to the side so that you can swing your legs around to the front. So now we're sitting here on the ground. So here's what we're gonna do next. I'd like for all of us to sit tall on the mat. We have a choice here between two different poses that'll help us open the body back up after folding forward in pigeon. So we could either do tabletop, which is going to look a little like this with our hands right underneath our shoulders, palms flat on the ground, knees bent. For tabletop, we're going to lift our bottom right up off the ground and try to make a table shape with our body, holding the neck in good alignment with the spine. The second choice is for an inclined plank. I'm going to scoot back so I don't run out of mat here. I'm going to point my toes, legs are long, same placement for the hands, but I'm going to again lift my bottom, but this time I'm on a incline. So from my collarbone down to my toes, I have a diagonal line. So you can choose whichever one of those poses you want to use tonight, whether it's tabletop or inclined plank. So let's go ahead and choose one. Let's pick the body up away from the mat. Everyone's engaging the abdominals and breathing rather than holding the breath. And I know this can be challenging for the arms. This is not the usual range of motion that we use on a daily basis. So take breaks when you need to. Let's take 3 more breaths. Now gently, gently lower yourself down to the mat. Very nice. Okay, so from here, let's extend our legs out long in front of us. Let's sit up nice and tall. So roll the shoulders back. If you give yourself a little wiggle under your bottom, you can feel those bony rods. Those are your sitting bones. So we want to have those grounded, like connected to the ground here. Now you might be saying, Becky, I'm having a hard time finding my sitting bones today. So here's a nice way that you can do that. You're just gonna lean over to one side, kind of scooch one hand under your bottom, and just kind of move the flesh over to the side. And then again, we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. And when we do that, sometimes we can really find those sitting bones in a hurry. But that's just showing us that we're grounded and we're in good alignment. That's why we want to point that out. So sitting up tall, we're going to come into a forward fold here. So let's inhale, engaging our abdominals. On the exhale, I start to walk myself forward, and I might just rest my hands somewhere on my lower legs. If I can reach my toes, I might use my peace fingers to hook on to the big toes here, or hold on to the outer edges of the foot or the inner edges, whatever you like. We're just trying to fold forward here and stretch out those lower back muscles that we've been talking about today. Two more breaths. Now when you're ready, walk yourself all the way back up. Let's bend the knees here very gently, preparing for boat pose, which is going to help us do some more of our core strengthening work. Let's hold on behind our legs, gently lifting one foot at a time. Let's find our balance on those same sitting bones. Maybe we'll choose to let go of the arms. Maybe we'll lift the legs up a little higher to find a little more balance work. Maybe we'll even straighten those legs out into more of a V shape. So think about engaging your abdominals for this boat pose and standing in a good balanced position wherever the options are taking you. Let's take 3 more breaths in boat. Now gently, gently come on down to the ground here. Let's scoot a little bit forward on the mat here. Roll the body down gently, gently, one vertebrae at a time. And let's hug those knees in toward the chest. Knees to chest pose is a wonderful, wonderful way to stretch out the lower back. You might even find it comfortable to rock these knees. That could feel nice for the back. Sometimes I like to do a little zigzag pattern and get all the way down to the lower parts of the back. Another wonderful option is a circling motion. So we could circle in one direction. And I always try to remember, if I'm using circles, we always need to remember to take them back in the opposite direction. Now let's bring those knees back to the center. Gently, gently lower the feet to the ground. Let's extend the left leg long to the floor. And let's reach our arms out to the side like scarecrow arms. Let's inhale, lifting that right knee parallel to the ceiling, and gently, gently take that right leg over the long left leg for a supine spinal twist. Now you might be able to take that right knee all the way down to the ground on the other side. If not, no worries. Just take it as far as is comfortable for you. And I always want to remind ourselves to be mindful that both shoulder blades are always connected to the ground. If they start to lift up, then we need to make some adjustments in this twist. This supine spinal twist is a wonderful way to access those lower back muscles. Give them that extra TLC they've been needing. Now when you're ready, engage the abdominals, gently, gently bring that right leg back to the center. Let's switch sides. So the right leg is now straightening. The left knee is bent. That shin is parallel to the ceiling. Let's cross it over, keeping those shoulder blades connected to the ground. Now, one thing I do know about yoga, one of the many things I have learned along the way, is that with practice, we do start to gain more flexibility. So just because my knee is not connecting to the ground tonight does not mean that it never will. It just means that for tonight, it's just not going any further, and that's okay. So we do this practice because it makes us feel good in the body, and then we observe over time how far we've come. Now let's engage the abdominals, roll that leg back. Let's straighten out both legs. And here we can relax the feet, let them fall apart to the side. I'm going to take my arms down to just outside of my hips and the palms of my hands, turning up toward the ceiling. This is our traditional corpse pose, or Shavasana in Sanskrit. This is always the last pose of our practice, and all that it's asking us to do is to be very still, very quiet, and to simply observe what happens in the mind or how we're feeling. So let's just take some deep, relaxing breaths here. Find our focus there. And if we have any stray thoughts floating into the mind, acknowledge them briefly and then let them float on by like a cloud in the sky. Let's start to slowly awaken these bodies from this wonderful, mindful rest. Let's start to invite some small movements into our fingers and our toes, gently waking them. And let's start to breathe a little more deeply, breathing nourishing oxygen into all parts of the physical body. And we notice that our hearts are shining with gratitude, grateful for this practice that we can choose to do outside or inside, grateful for the peace and calm and also the strength and energy that this class brings to us. And we're always grateful for these healthy bodies and this healthy breath that has carried us through this practice and through our day. Now, as we're ready, let's gently, gently bend the knees, hugging them back in toward the chest. And again, we might choose to rock those knees gently, massaging the back in a gesture of loving care. And when we're ready, let's roll the entire body over to one side on our mat. Breathing in the many jewels of our practice and exhaling all of the warmth and kindness that we have for each other, for the world around us, and for ourselves. And when we're ready, with our eyes still closed, let's gently, gently bring ourselves back up to an easy seated position on the mat. I invite everyone to bring the palms together at heart center. Let's start to rub those hands vigorously, starting to warm the palms of our hands. And let's use our warm hands to gently, gently cover our closed eyes. And that good heat that we find there is inviting our eyes to slowly open, and we bring our hands down to rest upon our laps. Thank you so much for joining me for this mat yoga class, working on trying to ease any discomfort in the lower back. We're going to get there. We just need to keep using these methods and keep moving the body in all of its intended ranges of motion. So thank you for joining me as we all choose to go on this path of healing. Clear minds, kind words, compassionate hearts. Namaste.